This is Margaret from the blog Don't Call It Bollywood, and I want to give my weekly box office report. This week, the big story is spread out between three different language groups, Hindi, Telugu, and Punjabi. And part of this story is that nobody else is reporting the Punjabi story, and I don't know why, because it's obviously the biggest news of the week. Starting with Hindi, there's some interesting stuff going on there as well. Lumi was a big flop. That's not news. It looked like a flop all along. It's kind of an old-fashioned story. Obviously a father's revenge for his daughter's rape and so on and so forth. After Pink last year, we sort of already had the peak of that story, so we don't need another one. It's a big deal because Sanjay Dutt is coming back to films, but it's not necessarily the best film to launch him off, and it just didn't look very good. The big news about it is that people knew it wouldn't be very good. It only released on 32 screens. That's about the same number of screens as Bareli Ki Barfi released on earlier this year. It's less screens than Poster Boys released on last week, which got 50. This is wonderful news for the Hindi industry, that distributors are finally taking a second and actually thinking about how many screens this film can sell, instead of just blindly taking as many screens as they possibly can, based on the assumption that people will turn out for a big star name and the only big Hindi release of the year. So that's great. I hope more Hindi films take a cautious approach and take fewer screens. Boomy did terribly, by the way, very, very bad, but only on 32 screens, which means only 32 theater owners suffered from that, kept the damage contained, both in terms of their immediate losses and in terms of their potential reluctance to try a Hindi film again. Great. Only 32 people suffer. I don't care so much that it's a flop. So that's what's going on in the Hindi story. In terms of the Telugu, this is very irritating because it's being misreported everywhere besides me, because I'm so smart. Jai Lova Kush is not doing great. Yes, it's the most successful Indian film in the American box office right now, but that's because everything else is doing so poorly. It only did about 3,700 per screen, so less than 4,000 per screen. 4,000 per screen is kind of the base level for a major Telugu release, because the ticket prices are inflated and because the audience interest really is there, in America at least, for major Telugu stars. 4,000 per screen is the expectation for a Cannes film. Not an expectation that any Cannes film has been able to meet in the past year, but until now it was the expectation. Telugu stars are at least as big, plus you add on the inflated ticket prices for opening weekend, they regularly do 4,000 to 6,000 opening weekend per screen. That's standard. This was less than that, which means it's not actually that good of a release. It looks good because everything else is so bad, and also because it released on so many screens that even that small per screen still gave them a good overall total. But it's actually not that good. The bigger part of the story is that it's being reported as though it is good. This is, in the general industry press for Indian film, playing into the concept that Telugu big star action films are the future. That's what's working. I already talked about this in my Arjun Reddy, about how the Telugu audience actually doesn't like those movies anymore, and the Hindi audience is just slow to understand that and to follow that lead. And this is just more of the same. Arjun Reddy was reported as a surprise, as though no one thought the Telugu audience would go for this. Whereas this one is being reported as obviously a success. Neither of those things are true. Arjun Reddy is part of a long-term trend of the Telugu audience looking for a little more introspective character study type films. And this film is not a success and is part of a long-term trend of these films not being a hit. But the real big story is the Punjabi film, whose title I'm blanking on. Nikki Cuddle 2, I want to say. Anyway, it's doing spectacular in America. It's making 6,000 per screen, which is the best a Punjabi film has done since I started tracking these numbers, especially in America. And it's not only doing well in America, it's also doing well in the UK. Punjabi films already do well in Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. That's their territory. But now they're moving into new territory, America and the UK. And if you think about it, well, duh, of course they are. The Hindi box office going down, that's not going to automatically benefit the Telugu and Tamil box office, because the Hindi audience doesn't speak Tamil and Telugu. But Punjabi films, much more similar language, much more similar cultural background, much more similar everything. It's a much better fit if you are disillusioned with the Hindi releases to hop over to Punjabi than it would be to hop over to one of the southern industries. Plus, as somebody pointed out to me on my blog, The Punjabi films also can cross over into the Urdu and Pakistani audience, which is being criminally underserved in terms of international releases. So there's another great audience that's open for them. And just generally, it's a natural fit for the whole North Indian region, which is feeling more and more betrayed by the Hindi films. So what I'm seeing right now is that if Hindi films continue this slide, it's not the Telugu and the Tamil industries that you need to be worried about, because those box offices have been flatlining similarly for a while. It's the Punjabi industry that's the up-and-comer that might really make a difference. At least that's how it looks this week. You can agree with me, you can disagree with me, just hop on over to my blog, Don't Call It Bollywood. There's a link right below, and leave me a message. Thanks. Bye.